The Grand Assembly Hall floated in the darkness of space like a jewel made of light and metal. It orbited the neutral world of Velen Prime, far from any empire's territory. Here, the 12 most powerful species in the galaxy met to decide the fate of worlds. Today, they would discuss a small blue planet called Earth. Ambassador Trell of the Vorath Empire stood at the center of the Great Hall. His gray skin reflected the glow of 1,000 holographic displays around him. His 4 eyes scanned the faces of the council members seated in a circle above him. They looked bored. This pleased him. Bored councils made quick decisions. Honored members of the Galactic Federation, Trell began, his voice echoing through the chamber. I bring urgent news. A primitive species in the Orion Arm has achieved faster-than-light travel. A few council members shifted in their seats. Most did not react at all. New species discovered space travel every few centuries. It was hardly unusual. The species calls themselves humans, Trell continued. They come from a planet they call Earth, a small world, mostly water, unremarkable in every way. He waved his hand, and a hologram of Earth appeared before the council. Blue oceans, green and brown land, white clouds swirling across its surface. It looked peaceful, harmless. The Vorath Empire proposes immediate conquest, Trell said. We must act now before these humans become a threat. Counselor Mira of the Elysian Collective leaned forward. Her silver hair flowed like water around her pale face. Her species was known for asking difficult questions. Ambassador Trell, the Vorath have conquered many worlds. Why do you need the Council's approval for this one? Trell's 4 eyes blinked slowly. We do not need approval, Counselor. We seek support. The humans have developed nuclear weapons. They have satellites watching their skies. They are more advanced than most primitive species. But still primitive, another counselor said. Their ships are slow. Their weapons are weak compared to ours. What threat could they possibly pose? Trell smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. None, if we act quickly. But their population grows fast. Their technology improves faster. In 100 years, they went from riding animals to walking on their moon. In another 100, they may be walking on our worlds. The council murmured among themselves. A species that advanced so quickly was unusual, perhaps even concerning. Trell pressed his advantage. I have studied their history. These humans are violent. They fight wars constantly. They kill each other over land, over resources, over ideas. They even kill each other over which invisible gods they believe in. They are dangerous, unpredictable creatures. He showed footage of human wars, explosions, fire, cities reduced to rubble, soldiers marching through mud and blood. The council watched with a mixture of disgust and curiosity. They do this to their own kind, Trell said. Imagine what they will do to us when they reach the stars. Counselor Mira studied the footage carefully. Has anyone actually visited this world? Spoken to these humans? The question hung in the air. The council members looked at each other. Silence filled the great hall. Trell's confidence wavered for just a moment. There have been observation missions, from a distance, nothing direct. So we know nothing about them, except what we see from far away, Mira said. We watch their wars, but do not understand why they fight. We see their weapons, but do not know their hearts. And you want us to invade them? Before Trell could respond, a voice spoke from the shadows of the observation gallery above. It was old and weak, like dry leaves rustling in wind. I have visited Earth. Every head turned toward the voice. A figure stepped forward into the light. He was ancient, his body bent and thin. His skin was pale blue, almost transparent. His eyes were clouded with age, but still sharp with memory. The council members gasped. Some stood from their seats in shock. Historian Bren, Counselor Mira whispered. We thought you were dead. Bren smiled sadly. Not yet, Counselor, though sometimes I wish I were. He was the last of the Caliph. His entire species had vanished 300 years ago. No one knew exactly what happened to them. They simply disappeared. Some said they fled to another galaxy. Others said they destroyed themselves. Bren never spoke of it. Until now. The old historian slowly made his way down to the speaker's platform. Each step seemed to cause him pain. When he finally stood beside Ambassador Trell, he looked up at the council with ancient eyes full of sorrow. I have visited Earth, he repeated. My people visited Earth, and I beg you. Honored council, do not make our mistake. Trell stepped back, suddenly uncomfortable. What mistake? What are you talking about? Bren ignored him. He kept his eyes on the council. 300 years ago, the Caliph sent a research vessel to study the humans. We thought they were primitive, amusing, interesting subjects for scientific study. He paused, his voice dropping to barely a whisper. We were wrong. The hologram of Earth still floated in the center of the hall, beautiful and silent. Do not wake the humans, Bren said. Do not touch their world. Do not threaten their people. Because if you do, they will not stop until they have destroyed everything you love. Ambassador Trell laughed nervously. This is ridiculous. They are primitives. We have ships that can burn their cities from orbit. We have weapons they cannot even imagine. Bren turned to face him. Despite his age, despite his weakness, there was something terrifying in his eyes. The Caliph had those things too, he said quietly, and now I am the last of my kind. The council fell absolutely silent. Counselor Mira leaned forward. Tell us, historian. Tell us what happened on Earth. Bren closed his eyes, remembering. When he opened them again, they were wet with tears. Very well, he said. I will tell you about the humans. And when I am finished, you will understand why the galaxy should fear that little blue world more than anything else in the universe. He took a deep breath and began his story. Historian Bren stood at the center of the Grand Assembly Hall, the weight of 300 years pressing down on his shoulders. The council watched him in complete silence. Even Ambassador Trell had stopped his protests. Everyone wanted to hear what the old Caliph had to say. It was 300 years ago, Bren began, his voice growing stronger as he spoke. The Caliph were great explorers. We traveled the galaxy, studying new species, recording their cultures, learning their languages. We were scientists, not warriors. We believed knowledge was the greatest treasure in the universe. He waved his hand, and a hologram appeared. It showed a sleek silver ship, beautiful in its design, clearly built for exploration rather than war. We discovered Earth during what the humans called their Great War, their First World War. We watched from orbit, hidden behind our cloaking technology, and we were horrified. The hologram changed. It showed trenches dug into muddy earth, soldiers in dirty uniforms, explosions lighting up a gray sky, bodies everywhere. They were killing each other by the millions, Bren said. Not with advanced weapons, with metal tubes that threw small pieces of metal, with gas that burned their lungs, with blades attached to those same metal tubes. They sent their young men to run across open fields into walls of gunfire, and they kept doing it, day after day, year after year. Counselor Mira shook her head slowly. Why would any species do this to themselves? We asked the same question, Bren replied. We decided to study them more closely. We thought they were primitive savages who would destroy themselves soon. We were curious how long they would last. The hologram shifted again. A different war now, different uniforms. Mountains covered in snow. 20 years later, they had another war, even bigger than the first, and then another conflict in a place called Korea, a small peninsula on their world. Two groups of humans fighting over ideas, not land, not resources, just ideas about how their society should be organized. Bren paused, collecting himself. We sent a scout ship to observe this Korean conflict, a small vessel with a crew of 3. They flew too low, too close. The humans detected them. The council leaned forward. This was something new, something dangerous. The humans shot down our ship, Bren said simply, with primitive weapons, metal tubes that threw explosive shells into the sky. Our pilot was captured. He showed them footage recovered from the pilot's memory core. It was grainy and damaged, but clear enough. A caliph lying on a metal table. Strange creatures surrounding him. They had only 2 eyes, flat faces, pale skin in some, darker in others. They wore green uniforms stained with dirt and blood. They did not run screaming, Bren said. They did not fall to their knees in worship. They did not even seem very surprised. They simply studied our pilot, asked him questions, took apart his equipment, learned. One of the humans in the footage stepped forward. He was young, perhaps 30 years old by human standards. His face was hard, his eyes cold. He wore the uniform of a sergeant. That man was named Tae-woo Park, Bren said, a soldier in the Korean army. He was the one who led the team that captured our pilot, and he was the one who spoke to our pilot in his final moments. The footage continued. Sergeant Tae-woo stood over the dying caliph. The alien's blue blood pooled on the floor. His breathing was weak, but he was still conscious, still recording. Tae-woo leaned down close. His voice was calm, almost gentle, but his words were not. "Go back to your people," he said in broken Caliph, words he had learned in just days of interrogation. "Tell them what you saw here. Tell them that Earth is not for taking. Tell them that if they come for us, we will fight. We will never stop fighting, and we will find them wherever they hide, and we will make them pay." He stood up straight. "We are not afraid of the stars. The stars should be afraid of us." The footage ended. The council sat in stunned silence. "Our pilot died," Bren said quietly, "but he transmitted this recording to our ship before his death. The ship fled back to Caliph space, and we decided to never return to Earth." Ambassador Trell found his voice. "One pilot, one soldier. This proves nothing. The humans got lucky." Bren turned to face him. "Luck? They detected our cloaked ship with technology 1,000 years behind ours. They shot it down with weapons designed to hit other primitive aircraft. They captured an alien being and learned its language in days. They took apart technology they could not possibly understand and began copying it." He stepped closer to Trell. "Does that sound like luck to you?" Trell said nothing. "But that is not the worst part," Bren continued. "The worst part is what came after." He pulled up another hologram. A woman this time, human, perhaps 60 years old. She wore a military uniform covered in medals. Her hair was gray, cut short. Her eyes were sharp and intelligent, and there was something familiar about her face. "This is General Yoonji Park," Bren said, "commander of Earth's United Defense Initiative, their planetary defense force." He paused. "She is the granddaughter of Sergeant Tae-woo Park." The council members shifted uncomfortably. "After our pilot was captured, the humans examined his technology. They learned from it. Not much at first, but over generations they built on that knowledge. They advanced faster than any species we had ever seen. And they never forgot that something came from the sky. They never stopped preparing." Bren pointed at the image of General Yoonji. "Her grandfather captured an alien. Her mother helped build the first human spacecraft capable of reaching other stars. And now she commands a fleet of ships armed with weapons based partly on Caliph technology. Technology we gave them when we made the mistake of thinking they were primitive." Counselor Mira spoke slowly. "Are you saying the humans know about us? They know aliens exist?" They know something exists, Bren replied. They do not know who or what, but they have been preparing for our return for 300 years, training soldiers, building weapons, watching the skies. He let out a long, tired breath. Sergeant Taewoo Park kept his promise. He told his children. They told their children. And now an entire world waits for us, armed and ready. Ambassador Trell shook his head stubbornly. Even so, their technology is still inferior. We can still— You still do not understand, Bren interrupted. It is not about their technology. It is not about their weapons. It is about what they are willing to do, what they are capable of becoming when threatened. He looked around at the council. I have shown you their past. Now let me show you their present. Let me show you what humanity has become in 300 years. And then, honored council, you can decide if you still want to invade Earth. He raised his hand, and new images began to appear. Let me show you why the Caliph chose to disappear rather than face humanity again. The holographic displays around the Grand Assembly Hall flickered and changed. Images of Earth filled the chamber. Not images of war this time. Something different. Something that would prove far more disturbing to the Council. Before I show you humanity's weapons, historian Bren said, I must show you humanity itself. You must understand what these creatures are. Only then will you understand why they are so dangerous. He brought up an image of a human woman. She wore a white coat and stood in front of strange machinery. Her name appeared below, Dr. Yuna Kang, particle physicist. This woman works at a facility called CERN, Bren explained. The humans built a machine there, a tunnel kilometers long, where they smash tiny pieces of matter together at incredible speeds. Do you know why? The council waited. They want to recreate the conditions of the Big Bang, the birth of the universe itself. They want to understand how everything began. Bren let that sink in. Most species discover this knowledge after thousands of years of careful study. The humans decided to simply build a machine and try it themselves. They knew it might create a black hole. They knew it might destroy their planet. They did it anyway. He showed footage of Dr. Yuna at work. She was smiling, laughing with her colleagues, excited about experiments that could end all life on Earth. They are not afraid of destruction, Bren said quietly. They are curious about it. The next image showed a human climbing a mountain, not with special equipment, not with protective gear, just hands and feet on frozen rock, thousands of meters above the ground. Humans do this for fun, Bren said. They call it recreation. They climb mountains that can kill them. They jump from aircraft with only cloth to slow their fall. They swim in waters filled with predators. They explore caves so deep that no light has ever touched them. Counselor Mira frowned. Why would any rational being take such risks? Because they enjoy it. Because it makes them feel alive. Because they want to prove they can. Bren shook his head slowly. I have studied thousands of species across the galaxy. None of them are like this. None of them seek danger for pleasure. He changed the image again. A human man eating something red and small. This is a pepper, Bren said. A plant that produces a chemical designed to cause pain. The plant evolved this defense to stop animals from eating it. Humans eat it deliberately. They have competitions to see who can eat the most painful peppers. They cultivate new varieties to make them more painful. That is insane, Ambassador Trell muttered. It gets worse, Bren replied. They consume poisons recreationally. A chemical called alcohol damages their internal organs. They drink it at celebrations. Caffeine disrupts their nervous system. They drink it every morning to wake up. Some of them inhale burning plant matter directly into their lungs, knowing it will kill them slowly over years. He showed image after image. Humans drinking, smoking, eating foods that their own doctors told them would cause disease, and they were smiling in every picture. Their bodies can survive incredible damage, Bren continued. Broken bones, torn muscles, damaged organs. They keep functioning. They keep fighting. He showed footage of a human soldier, his leg clearly broken, still crawling toward his weapon. Any other species would go into shock, would surrender, would die. Humans get angry. The next image made several council members look away. It showed a human surgeon cutting into another human. Both were awake. The patient was talking, even laughing. They cut each other open while conscious, Bren said. Sometimes they cut parts out. Sometimes they put new parts in. They transplant organs from dead humans into living ones. They replace limbs with machines. They refuse to accept the limitations of their own bodies. He paused, looking around at the disturbed faces of the council. But perhaps the most terrifying thing about humans is not their bodies. It is their minds. New footage appeared. Humans protesting in streets. Humans marching with signs. Humans facing down armed soldiers with nothing but their voices. They fight for ideas, Bren said. Not just survival, not just territory, ideas, concepts, beliefs that exist only in their minds. They will die for freedom, even if they have never been free. They will die for justice, even if they have never seen it. They will die for love, for honor, for revenge. He showed footage of a young woman standing in front of a tank. She did not move. The tank stopped. One human, one machine of war, and the human won, not through strength, through will. Ambassador Trell tried to speak, but Bren continued. They hold grudges for generations. They remember insults from centuries past. They teach their children to hate enemies their children have never met, and they never, ever give up. The hologram changed one final time. It showed a mushroom cloud rising over a city. The council had seen nuclear weapons before. Many species developed them. But the next image was different. It showed two mushroom clouds over the same planet, days apart. The humans used nuclear weapons on themselves, Bren said, to end a war faster. They looked at the most destructive force they had ever created and thought, how can we use this? And then they built more, thousands more, enough to destroy their entire planet many times over. He let the image hang in the air. And here is what you must understand, honored council. Those weapons are not pointed at the stars. They are pointed at each other. Right now, today. The humans live every day knowing that at any moment they could all die in nuclear fire, and they accept this. They call it peace. The council sat in horrified silence. They have a term for it, Bren continued. Mutually assured destruction. If anyone attacks them with nuclear weapons, they will respond with nuclear weapons. Everyone dies. They consider this a reasonable strategy. Counselor Mira found her voice. They would destroy themselves rather than surrender. Without hesitation, Bren replied. I have seen their history. They burn their own cities rather than let enemies capture them. They poison their own wells. They fight to the last soldier, the last civilian, the last child old enough to hold a weapon. Surrender is not in their nature. He turned to face Ambassador Trell directly. You want to invade Earth with your mighty fleet. You want to burn their cities from orbit. You think they will see your power and fall to their knees. His voice dropped low. They will not kneel. They will not surrender. They will fight you on every street, in every building, in every forest and mountain and cave. They will poison your food, sabotage your equipment, turn your own weapons against you. They will make you pay for every meter of their world in blood. He stepped closer to Trell. And when they are dying, when you think you have finally won, they will launch every nuclear weapon they have, not at you, at your homeworld, at your colonies, at everything you have ever loved. Bren's voice was barely a whisper now. "They will burn with you, and they will smile as they do it." The Grand Assembly Hall was absolutely silent. "That," Bren said, "is what you face if you invade Earth. Not a primitive species, not easy prey. A world full of creatures who have spent their entire existence learning how to survive, how to fight, and how to destroy everything around them if necessary." He stepped back from Ambassador Trell. "Still think luck explains what happened to my pilot?" Counselor Mira raised her hand. The murmuring in the Grand Assembly Hall fell silent. She looked down at Historian Bren with eyes that held both fear and curiosity. "Your words are powerful, Historian," she said. "But words can be exaggerated. Memories can be wrong. I want to see these humans for myself. I want to see what they are today, not what they were 300 years ago." Ambassador Trell nodded eagerly. "Yes, show us their current state. I believe the historian is letting old fears cloud his judgment. Humans cannot be as dangerous as he claims." Bren smiled sadly. "Very well. Let us see what humanity has become." He spoke a command, and the holographic displays connected to a cloaked drone already in orbit around Earth. The Council watched as the drone descended through the clouds, invisible to human sensors, recording everything it saw. The first images showed a military training camp in a mountainous region. Snow covered the ground. Wind howled through narrow valleys. The temperature was well below freezing, and human soldiers were running through it in minimal clothing. "This is what humans call survival training," Bren explained. "They deliberately put their soldiers in deadly situations, not to punish them, to make them stronger." The Council watched as a unit of soldiers, led by a man identified as Captain Jinho Lee, conducted exercises that seemed designed to cause maximum suffering. The soldiers crawled through frozen mud. They climbed cliffs with bare hands. They marched for hours without rest, without food, without warmth. One soldier fell, his leg twisted at a wrong angle, clearly broken. His companions did not stop. They did not call for medical help. They tied his leg with pieces of cloth, gave him a stick to lean on, and kept marching. The injured soldier gritted his teeth and followed. "Why do they not help him?" a council member asked, horrified. "They are helping him," Bren replied. "In their minds, carrying him would make him weak. He must complete the mission on his own strength. This builds what they call character." The soldiers made camp as night fell. They had no tents, no heating devices. They dug holes in the snow and slept in them. Some of them stayed awake, watching for danger. They took turns, so everyone got at least a little rest. And then, despite their exhaustion, despite the cold, despite their wounds, they began to sing. The sound was strange to alien ears, rough voices rising together in harmony. The words were about home, about family, about never giving up. The singing seemed to give them strength. Their backs straightened. Their eyes grew brighter. The cold seemed to matter less. "They use sound to maintain morale," Bren said. "Music, they call it. It has no practical purpose, but it keeps them fighting when their bodies want to stop." Captain Jinho addressed his soldiers. His breath made clouds in the freezing air. "You are cold," he said. "You are tired. You are hurt. Good. Now you know what you can survive. Tomorrow nothing will seem difficult." The soldiers laughed. Actually laughed. In the middle of their suffering. The drone moved away from the training camp and flew toward a human city. The council watched as massive structures of metal and glass rose from the earth. Millions of humans lived here, packed together in towers that scraped the sky. "This is Seoul," Bren said, "one of their larger cities. Observe how they function." The drone descended into the chaos of the city streets. Vehicles moved in streams. Humans walked in crowds. Everyone was moving, always moving, going somewhere, doing something. The noise was incredible. The activity never stopped. "Their civilization should collapse," Ambassador Trell said. Too many individuals in too small a space. They should be fighting each other constantly. Watch, Bren replied. The drone focused on a traffic intersection. An emergency had occurred nearby. Sirens screamed. Panic spread through the crowd. Vehicles tried to move in all directions at once. Then a single human stepped into the intersection. A woman in uniform. Her name tag read, Officer Sohee Han. She raised her hands and began directing traffic. Within minutes, order emerged from chaos. Vehicles moved smoothly. Emergency responders got through. Pedestrians crossed safely. One human, with no weapons, no authority except her uniform, controlled thousands of others through pure force of will. They follow rules, Bren said. Rules they created themselves. Rules they enforce on each other, not through fear, but through agreement. They call it civilization. It is perhaps their greatest achievement. The drone moved on, flying over residential areas, smaller buildings here, gardens, children playing in the streets. An old woman worked in her garden, tending to plants despite the cool weather. That is Hana Choi, Bren said. She is 78 years old. Watch what happens next. The footage shifted to a recording from earlier that week, nighttime. A figure approached Hana's house through the shadows, a criminal attempting to break in. Hana woke to the sound of breaking glass. Any other elderly being in the galaxy would hide, call for help, wait for authorities. Hana did none of these things. She grabbed a cooking pan from her kitchen, a simple metal tool used for heating food. Then she walked directly toward the intruder. The criminal was young, strong, armed with a knife. He was easily 3 times her size. He saw the old woman approaching and laughed. He stopped laughing when the pan connected with his skull. Hana hit him again and again. She screamed at him in words that the translator could not fully process, but the meaning was clear. This was her home. He had no right to be here, and she was going to make him regret ever trying. By the time authorities arrived, the criminal was unconscious on the floor. Hana was sitting in her kitchen drinking tea, the bloody pan still in her hand. She was not afraid, Counselor Mira whispered. She was furious, Bren corrected. Humans do not feel fear the way other species do, or rather they feel it, but it does not stop them. It makes them angry, and angry humans are the most dangerous things in the universe. Ambassador Trell had gone very quiet. Their elderly fight criminals with cooking tools, Bren said. Their children are taught to resist bullies from their earliest years. Their sick refuse to stay in medical facilities. Their wounded return to battle before their injuries heal. They simply do not stop. Ever. He brought up one final set of images. Intercepted communications between 2 high-ranking military officers. General Do-hyun Ryu and Admiral Minji Baek, discussing theoretical responses to an alien invasion. We cannot win in space, Admiral Minji said in the recording. Not yet. Our fleet is too small. Then we make them come to us, General Do-hyun replied. Make them fight on the ground, street by street, building by building. We know this land. They do not. And if they bomb us from orbit? Then we go underground. We have bunkers, tunnels, places they cannot reach, and we fight for years, decades, generations if necessary. Admiral Minji nodded. And if we are losing, if extinction becomes certain? General Do-hyun's face was calm, accepting. Then we launch everything we have at their homeworld, every nuclear weapon, every ship capable of reaching them. We make sure that destroying humanity costs them everything. Mutually assured destruction, Admiral Minji said, extended to the stars. They want our world? General Do-hyun smiled coldly. Fine. But they will never enjoy it, and neither will their children or their children's children. We will haunt them forever. Bren ended the recording. These are not extremists, he said to the Silent Council. These are their mainstream military leaders. This is how all of them think. Every human, from the youngest child to the oldest grandmother, carries this same fire inside them. He looked at Ambassador Trell. Do you still want to invade Earth? The Grand Assembly Hall had never been so quiet. 12 of the most powerful beings in the galaxy sat in their seats, unable to speak. The images from Earth still flickered in the air around them. The words of the human generals still echoed in their minds. Ambassador Trell stood alone at the center of the chamber. His gray skin had turned pale. His 4 eyes blinked rapidly, but he was not ready to give up. This changes nothing, he said, though his voice lacked its earlier confidence. Yes, the humans are unusual, but they are still primitive compared to us. Our ships can travel faster than light. Our weapons can destroy cities in seconds. Our armies number in the billions. What can a few billion humans do against the entire Vorath Empire? Historian Bren sighed. He looked tired, older than before, if that was possible. You still do not understand, he said softly, and perhaps you never will. So let me explain one final time. He walked slowly toward Trell, his ancient bones creaking with each step. You see their current weapons and think you can defeat them. But those are not the weapons that should frighten you. The weapons that should frighten you are the ones they have not built yet. He stopped directly in front of the ambassador. The ones they will build to fight you. Bren turned to address the entire council. I have studied humanity for 300 years. I have watched them from afar, read their histories, analyzed their behavior, and I have learned one thing above all else. Humans adapt. They overcome. They find ways to win that no one else would ever consider. He gestured at the holographic displays. 300 years ago, they fought with metal tubes and chemical explosives. Today, they have nuclear weapons, spaceships, and machines that can think. What will they have in another 100 years? Another 50? Another 10? His voice rose with passion he had not shown before. If you invade them, you will not be fighting the humans of today. You will be fighting the humans of tomorrow. And those humans will have studied your ships, learned your weaknesses, built weapons specifically designed to kill Vorath soldiers. They will turn every piece of technology you bring to their world against you. They did it to us. They will do it to you. Bren's eyes found Trell again. The Kaleth were a peaceful species. We had no enemies. We wanted only knowledge. And when we made the mistake of threatening humanity, they destroyed us. Not with weapons, with fear. We saw what they could become, what they would become if we pushed them. And we chose to disappear rather than face that future. He lowered his voice to almost a whisper. Do you want to know what happened to my people, Ambassador? We scattered. We fled to the farthest reaches of the galaxy, changed our names, hid our heritage. We erased ourselves from history rather than risk humanity finding us. And still, I am the last. Still, the shadow of Earth follows me. Still, I wake in the night, remembering that soldier's words. He closed his eyes, reciting from memory. Tell your people that Earth is not for taking. The hall was silent. Counselor Mira stood from her seat. Her silver hair caught the light as she descended to the speaker's platform. She walked past Ambassador Trell without looking at him and stood before the assembled council. I have heard enough, she said. The evidence is clear. Humanity is not a primitive species waiting to be conquered. They are a force of nature, a storm that has not yet broken across the galaxy, and we must not be the ones to wake that storm. She raised her hand. I call for a vote. The Vorath proposal to invade Earth is denied. You cannot, Trell began. I further move, Mira continued, her voice cutting through his protest, that Earth be classified as a death world. Contact with humanity is to be strictly forbidden. No observation ships, no research missions, no contact of any kind until such time as humanity demonstrates maturity. Ambassador Trell's mouth opened and closed. He had no words left. One by one, the council members raised their hands in agreement. The vote was unanimous. Even the Vorath representative on the council voted against his own empire's proposal. Mira nodded. The motion passes. Earth is hereby classified as a death world. All records of this session will be sealed. The existence of humanity will be kept secret from the general population of the Federation. We will watch them from afar, and we will pray that when they finally reach the stars, they come as friends rather than enemies. She looked at Historian Bren. Thank you, Historian. You have done the galaxy a great service today. Bren bowed his head. I have done what I could. I only hope it is enough. The council session ended. Representatives filed out of the Great Hall, speaking in hushed voices, casting nervous glances at the hologram of Earth that still floated in the center of the chamber. Ambassador Trell left without a word, his face a mask of shame and fear. Bren remained behind. He walked slowly to the viewing window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, hidden in the Orion Arm, a small blue planet orbited a yellow sun. Billions of humans lived their lives, unaware that they had just been declared too dangerous to touch. Perhaps one day, Bren murmured to himself, when they stop fighting each other, they will look to the stars. They will build ships that cross galaxies. They will find us, all of us. He placed his ancient hand against the cold glass. And I hope, for the sake of everyone in this universe, that they come as friends. He paused, his reflection staring back at him. Because if they come as enemies, nothing will stop them. 6 months later, on Earth, Dr. Yuna Kang sat alone in her office at the research facility. The lights were dim. Her computer screens cast a blue glow across her face. She had been staring at the same data for hours. Something was wrong. Something was out there. The Deep Space Telescope had detected an anomaly at the edge of the solar system, a pattern that should not exist, a signal that could not be natural. Her assistant Sunwoo Im knocked on her door. He was young, eager, still excited about the mysteries of the universe. He carried 2 cups of coffee. "Working late again?" he asked, setting 1 cup on her desk. Yuna did not take her eyes from the screen. "Look at this." Sunwoo leaned in. His eyes widened as he processed what he was seeing. "That cannot be right. The computer must be making an error." "I have checked it 17 times, Yuna replied. "It is not an error." The signal was clear, regular, artificial. Something was watching them from the darkness between stars. "What do you think it is?" Sunwoo whispered. Yuna finally looked away from the screen. She picked up her coffee and took a long sip. Her hands were steady. Her eyes were calm. There was no fear in her expression, only curiosity, only determination, only that fire that burned in every human heart. "An invitation," she said finally. "Or a warning." She picked up her phone and dialed a secure line. The phone rang twice before a familiar voice answered. "General Ryu speaking." "General, this is Dr. Kang at the observatory. I am sending you some data you need to see immediately." A pause. "What kind of data?" Yuna looked at the signal one more time. Somewhere out there, beyond the reach of human ships, someone was watching. Someone was waiting. Someone had just made a very serious mistake. "I think we are about to have visitors," she said, "and I think we need to be ready to welcome them." She ended the call and turned back to her screens. Behind her, Sunwoo was already running calculations, preparing reports, doing all the things that needed to be done. Earth was not ready for what was coming. But Earth had never been ready. Earth had always faced the impossible with nothing but courage and determination and the stubborn refusal to accept defeat. And that, in the end, was what made humanity the most dangerous species in the galaxy. In orbit above Earth, hidden behind cloaking technology, a Vorath scout ship watched and waited. Ambassador Trell had not accepted the Council's decision. He had sent this ship to find proof that humans were not as dangerous as Bren claimed. The ship's captain observed Dr. Yuna's facility through advanced sensors. He saw the excitement spreading through the building. He saw humans running, shouting, preparing. They had detected him. The captain began transmitting an emergency message back to Vorath space. But before he could finish, alarms blared throughout his ship. Something was wrong. Something was happening. He looked at his sensor display and felt fear for the first time in his life. From the surface of Earth, 100 points of light were rising into the sky. Ships, human ships, coming straight toward him. Earth was not waiting for visitors after all. Earth was coming to meet them.